Boker Tov, Givrin.
Boker Tov.
Mashlom Kim. Lo Ra, I heard over here very distinctly. All right, not bad. Lo Ra, which means you're not really that good. But at least you didn't say Lo Tov. All right, we want to do several things today. This is going to be a review day. We want to go back over things that you've studied in chapters 5 through 12 in preparation for the exam. The first thing I want us to do, however, is to look at your exercise on personal pronouns, exercise 12. And we want to go over it immediately and talk about it to make certain that you're all on the right page there. Since this is the last chapter involved in the exam next week, you want to make certain it's covered and you understand what's happening. So take out your exercise 12, personal pronouns, and please trade it with someone near you. And let's begin. Number 1 on the translation, and all this exercise is involved in translation. Most exercises from now on are going to be mainly translation. There'll be a few things that will be different, but it's just trying to get the exercise over and over and over again and trying to multiply the variety of examples that help to cement those things that you're attempting to learn and remember. I was mentioning this morning, talking with James, and I had a note, I think, from Kenny on his exercise number 10, that there are some things that just don't seem to quite coalesce yet. There are some things that are difficult to understand. For example, the construct state. Some of you are still struggling with some aspects of that. And it really is this constant repetition of a variety of examples that eventually provides perhaps that one example that you've just been waiting for, that communicates with you, even though it may not communicate with anyone else. It is just that one example that suddenly it clicks. And so that's the reason for all this translation, is that one of these translation examples, either going from Hebrew to English or English to Hebrew, is suddenly just going to turn a light on, and you'll say, wow, I've been in darkness until now, and now the light has come on, and I understand this one thing. I have 1,000 other things I still don't understand, but this one thing I do understand. And that's the reason why we have all of these exercises, why you have the exercises in the workbooks, and why we have this constant repetition, is that's what it takes to learn the language. And so don't feel that you're odd or behind or left out if you're still struggling with something that's even 2 or 3 lessons ago. Remember, we talked about the learning gap in learning a language. And part of that is going to be helped by these constant examples, and we'll go through it. So let's start with number 1. And Scott Basolo, would you please read aloud the Hebrew and then translate?
Min haaretz.
Okay, ha'aretz. There's no ah there. Okay, min ha'aretz.
Min haaretz. Hahi. Hahu.
Hahi.
Hahi.
Mm-hmm.
Yatsa Ashur.
All right.
And has Ashur departed from the land?
Okay, departed from that land. Hahi. Hahi. Now you might be wondering about the spelling, because you're used to seeing he spelled with a hey, a hirik yod, and an aleph, and you're used to seeing who spelled with the shurik, where you see the wow. But there's something very strange in the Hebrew Bible, and primarily this occurs, in fact, it occurs only in the Pentateuch, in the books of Moses. In the books of Moses, the third feminine singular personal pronoun and remote demonstrative is spelled, instead of with a hirik yod, with a hirik wow. With a hirik wow. And this is one of the arguments, in fact, against those who would say that there's textual updatings taking place in the Hebrew Bible to try to update the language so others can understand it, correct spellings, make it more contemporary. Well, if that had taken place, this would have been one of those that would have been updated. But it has not been. It's been left that way. And this is the only place where we find it, the 5 books of Moses. And there's many other examples I could give, but that's just one of the many. So when we talk about things like textual updating or later editing of the text at canonization to try to upgrade, update, contemporize the language, there are scores of examples of key and major factors of the language that had changed over the period of time from Moses down to the time of Ezra that are not changed at all. So it puts a big question on textual updating, and this is one of them. So that's why it's spelled this way, and it's important here, you see, that you pronounce it. Because if you look at just the consonants, you wonder what's going on here because you thought that land was feminine. Now, fortunately, no matter how you interpret that as who or he or ha-who, it would still come up with the same meaning in translation. But it may have caused you to stop and to think about it. So it's literally, word for word, it's from the land, that, because it agrees with the noun it modifies. So it's from that land, he went out, Asher. And it's Asher went out. Now, is there anyone who translated this, from that land, he went out to Asher? Anyone put to Asher? All right. Remember when you have a proper name like Asher, you will always have a lamed preposition or L used to show to, or you'll have a comet's hey on the end of it that indicates direction. So it would not be to unless it's specifically worded that way in Hebrew. If you worded it to Asher for today, I'm not taking points off because we have not discussed that specific type of situation. So if you have to on there, don't worry about it. It's nothing off. Pardon? It should have been, no, it should not be written. This is directly from Scripture. Asher is the subject of Yatzah. Asher went out is what it should be. That's the accurate translation. It's not he went out to Asher. It should be Asher went out. Okay? Eric?
Can you tell me again where we're getting the that from?
That is ha-he. This word here.
Why it's not she?
Why it's not she? First of all, personal pronouns never have a definite article, number one. Number two, when the pronoun is used as an adjective to define a noun, it agrees with that noun in gender, number, and definiteness, which is what is happening here. It's an adjective. Used as an adjective, it's always the demonstrative pronoun, the remote demonstrative pronoun. Okay? And you'll only have that problem with third-person pronouns. The third-person pronouns, he, who, and also haim and hema, and hain and hena. These third-person pronouns are the only ones that can also be used as remote demonstratives. But when they have the article, you know it's the remote demonstrative because the personal pronoun never takes the article. The personal pronoun never takes the article. Scott?
I don't remember the Hirik wow, but that pronunciation.
Yeah, that Hirik wow you've never had before.
So he is the proper.
That's the proper pronunciation, yes. Mm-hmm. Wow can behave as a vowel letter in Hebrew. And it's something we have not talked about yet, and you've not seen this form before. This is the first time. Chad.
How would we distinguish whether Asher is the subject or the object? For example, I translated it, from that land he departed, Asher or Assyria.
What did you mean by that? By what you translated?
I wasn't sure. I was just translating the way that I thought it was literally written. I didn't think that it necessarily made a lot of sense, but some of the examples don't seem to.
And that's a good point to remember, and I'm glad Chad mentioned this. Remember that these things do make sense. And so you need to make sense out of them in English when you translate. And Asher, as either a country or land, depart doesn't take a direct object. Depart never takes a direct object. How can you depart something? You have to depart from something, or you have to depart to something. But it can't be the direct object. So you'd either have to add from or to, And in the Hebrew, that would always be stated in this case. Okay? Does that help?
Yes.
To clarify? All right. Any other questions on number 1? All right. Pardon?
He went out from the land of Asher, that would be incorrect.
He went out from the land of Asher would be absolutely incorrect. Notice, right, if it was from the land of Asher, land would have to be in the construct. And land here has an article on it, so it's not in the construct. And also, Asher would have to be immediately after that construct noun, and it's not immediately after the construct noun. And remember our word order, verb, subject, object. We have the verb, and here we have the subject following it there. Scott?
On hahi, the article there looks like it could be an interrogative because of the pathak underneath the...
An interrogative is always on the first word of a sentence that is interrogative. The interrogative he is always on the first word of a question, never on any subsequent word. Go back and look at the rules again on the interrogative article.
Is that I'm sure it is the correct form for the...
It would, if this were the first word in the sentence, it would be potential to have it as an interrogative. But it's not the first word in the sentence, therefore it cannot be the interrogative.
It seems like an odd pointing for the article with pathak underneath
It-
before the guttural.
Remember that the hey and the cheth are strong gutturals. They're doubled by implication, so the pathak remains. Check again the rules for the article. Okay? Yes, David.
So do we normally have like adverbial prepositional phrases at the very beginning of the or prior to the
No, we do not normally have them at the beginning. This is emphatic.
Okay.
It's emphatic. Okay? Chad.
So, following up on my question a minute ago, ya'ah is an intransitive verb.
Yatsa.
Yatsa, yes. If that had been a transitive verb,
Asher could possibly be the
it
object.
could be the object.
Could be the object if it was a transitive verb, yes.
And we would have to tell that based on context only.
Correct. Absolutely. Yes. Okay? Now, I want you to be grading these as we go along because I want you to be able to take these away with you after the break. And the break, I will record your grades. And so on this one, note here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words in the English to translate this. So if any of your 6 English words, Asher went out, or Asher departed from that land, if you have any of those words wrong, that's 1 point for each word that is wrong. And so there's a potential here of 6 points for this sentence. If you have it correct, you don't have to worry about it. But if you have something wrong, you mark it the number of points off on the words that you had wrong in your translation. Okay? All right? So put off to the side there what are the number wrong. The number wrong. All right, let's go to sentence number 2. Sentence number 2. Dennis, you want to read that for us, please, in Hebrew?
Al-Kings, Barak, Ayir.
Okay, Shema. Or do you have a different, is there a change there in what you have? Let me see what someone has here. Okay, yes, you do have something different here. All right, so you have Kara Ha'ir. Okay, Ha'ir. Okay.
Kishon, Alel, Yahweh, Shaphat, Kal, Ha'ar.
Okay, good. And translate?
Therefore he called the city Babel, because the Lord confused his speech. That's the whole earth.
Okay, good. All right. So therefore, he called the city Babel, because there Yahweh confused the language of all the earth. Okay, Alkane, therefore. Kara, he called. You could also just say he named. He named the city, Ha'ir, Babel. Notice the Zakef Katon over that as a disjunctive accent. Because, ki, there, T-H-E-R-E, he, meaning Yahweh, is the subject following it. Yahweh confused or mixed the language of, Safat is the construct from Safa, it's a feminine singular construct, the language of all the earth, Kol Ha'aretz. So here you translated exactly the same order as the Hebrew, except for Yahweh being the subject of Balal comes after it. Okay? Question, Jeff.
How do you get language out of lip?
If you look back at the vocabulary list, I believe it also includes language as one of the meanings. It has many different meanings. But if you have lip, I'm not going to count it wrong. You can have lip and it'll be all right.
So it's lip, border, language.
Yes, lip, border, edge, language, shore. There's a whole bunch of things that can have meaning. Yes. Okay, and lip, you can see how lip moves into language. Right. Yeah, if you put lip, it's fine. Lip or language. Just don't put edge or shore. All right? Or border. Tom, question.
It's more of first of all, I noticed that every time I look for a city's name, until now I kept trying to look for it as a word. I didn't phonetically just go through it and go, oh, that's Babel. For some reason I just couldn't find it. And just a note, obviously I did it wrong, but when you guys are updating this, sometimes to translate some of those things into the back again, because I'm looking all over the place for words and I can't find them. And just as a note, not to reflect anything.
Okay, fine. Yeah, good
I
comment.
can't find stuff. I'm looking
All right.
all over.
And you didn't find Babel listed anywhere?
I couldn't find
Nowhere?
it. Yeah.
There were several words in this exercise that I couldn't find listed.
Okay, please identify those for me as we're going through, like Tom did, because I want to know where they're at. So Babel was not found. Is there any other word in the number 2 here that was not found in the vocabulary? All right.
Was language one of the definitions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Okay.
All right. And if you use lip, of course, it would fit.
No, it's not in the back. It doesn't say.
Not in the back, but it is in the regular chapters, isn't it? At the end of the chapter? Really? Now, I'm shocked at that one, because I thought I had remembered we made that change 2 years ago. It didn't give you language there. Okay, thank you. It's good to know.
In the glossary definition, I think of Balal, it actually has languages in parentheses, I think.
So under Balal, you would have seen it
Yeah.
as a reference,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be under Safat. Still needs to be under Safat. Okay, good, thank you. All right, any other questions on number 2? Any other questions on number 2? All right, let's go to number 3. Number 3, Mike, would you please read it?
Avaron, Ashav, Be'eretz, Kenan, Welo, Yashav, B'are,
Ba'are.
Ba'are, Hakikar.
All right, and translate?
Abram stayed in the land of Canaan, and Lot stayed in the southern portion of the Gor.
Okay, you missed Ba'are. In the cities of the southern portion of the Gor, or in the cities of the Gor, or in the cities of the Jordan Valley, or in the cities of the environments, or environs. Okay, you have to have cities of there. In the cities of Ba'are. Okay, Avram Yashav Be'eretz Kenaan Welot Yashav Ba'are Hakikar. All right, any other questions on the translation there? Yes, Eric?
Stayed in the lands of the broad southern portion of the board? Lands or cities?
Cities. cities. It's are is from ir, cities. Okay, anyone else? Yes, Chad?
I may have, maybe somebody else found it and I just missed it, but I don't believe Lot and Canaan were in the vocabulary.
We've had lot before already, several times, I believe.
But it's not in the glossary, I don't believe.
I just figured.
Not in the glossary. I think part of that is Dr. Bustos and I felt that proper names shouldn't have to be put in the glossary, especially if we've already had it before, and we've had lot before.
Anyway, but just.
Yeah.
Canaan was one that stuck me for a while,
Okay, and we've had that one also. Didn't we have that before?
maybe.
I believe, because I thought I remembered pronouncing it with you before.
But not Canaan.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'll mark those anyway. We might want to make a special section of proper names. Would it be of help, this is a good time to ask, would it be of help to put proper names in a separate list, or should they be in the same list as all the other words? Same list works better for you? Okay, good. All right. So Abraham settled, or he lived, or he stayed. Any of those verbs are acceptable in the land of Canaan, and Lot stayed, settled, lived in the cities of the Jordan Valley, the Gore, the environs. Okay? Dwelt is fine, yes. Okay, John?
Toward the cities, is that okay?
Toward the cities? It's the Baith preposition meaning in. It's not el, unto, or lamed, to. It's Baith, in. So it'd be wrong. All right? By the way, let's go back a minute. On number 2, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 14 possible points on number 2. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 possible points for number 3. And that, if you leave out an of or you leave out a the, that's 1 point off. If the of isn't there for the construct, if the isn't there when the article's there, or the construct relationship has definiteness, that's 1 point off for each element missed. Okay? Any other questions on number 3? Tom?
This is a simple thing, I'm sure everybody else knows it, but on cities, why does the yod drop out? And then from just the regular word city?
Okay, that drops out because the language just happened to form it that way. It's just the same way as Eretz becomes Aretz. In fact, as we were looking at some of the, I think it's actually part of it is in a footnote earlier that explains that this is one of the unusual words. It's one of those 5 or 6 words that do unusual, irregular things in Hebrew. And it's just one of those things you have to just use. The answer, technically, is that evidently, originally, ear came from a word that had an original A-class vowel in it. And then it was changed to ear, but in the plural, it reverted back to the original A-class vowel. And that's merely hypothetical, because we have no evidence to prove it any different. Okay? Other than parallel cognate languages where it appears that way. Yes, Scott?
I don't know if it would be of value to you, but it would seem to be of value to us on the irregular words like that if they maybe had both variations in the glossary.
In the vocabulary list?
Because, man, we spend an inordinate amount of time trying to go back and figure out what rule changed it and can't find it anywhere, and it just is kind of discouraging.
That is a good idea. I think we've done that for a few words, but we haven't, like bait, we did it for bait. On bayith, we put bait in the vocab, and we should probably do that then for this as well. Okay, good. Part of this is we get so used to teaching Hebrew and everything else. We're so used to many of these things in the second semester and third semester, they're in the lexicons. They're all in the lexicons. And there's a reluctance to put so much in the grammar that you don't need a lexicon. And yet, for the first semester, it's almost necessary that at least what you use is there. Okay, let's go on number 4. Yes, Scott.
Will the lexicon be a valuable tool as we're going through these?
You're not really ready for it yet.
It sure helped last night.
There will be times when it might have helped, but you're also learning some things by these struggles, and the grading is gracious enough to allow some flexibility on some of these matters too. So even though it may be painful, you're learning from it. All right, number 4. Number 4. Kenny, pronounce this, please. Okay, oo's a have. Ha-he. Ha-he tov. And without even looking at the footnote, you know that this comes from the Pentateuch. Why? Because he is spelled with a wow instead of a yod. So anytime you see it that way, you know that's from a text in the Pentateuch, because that's where that different spelling takes place. All right, translation, Kenny?
The gold of that land is good.
Okay, and, don't forget the ooh is and the gold of that land is good. Or if you have was, that's fine as well. Remember, tov does not have the article. Therefore, it is a predicate adjective. It isn't in the normal word order, but you know it's a predicate adjective because it doesn't have the article. And ha-he is that, agreeing with land in definiteness, gender, and number. And gold of, you're not used to seeing a hatif pathic with it. And there's any number of attempted explanations of why this occurs. I'm not satisfied with any of them at all. For some reason, the Masoretes felt it should be pointed this way, because normally it'd just be a simple schwa. Eric?
With it pointed this way, why is there a shurek for the...
Because it's before a schwa.
But if
Shurik
it's-
before a schwa.
But it's before a composite schwa or...
It doesn't make any difference. It's still a schwa. And what's happened here, I think, is that the Masoretes looked at this and said, all right, there's a hatif pathic here, but normally this would be a schwa, therefore we're going to follow the rule and have the and follow the rule of the schwa. Remember when you did your construct exercise, the one I just returned to you this morning? You had zahav as one of those examples you were to supply the construct of, and when you gave the construct for it, you gave this as the construct. And so what the Masoretes are looking at is this is what it's normally supposed to be. And so this would be oo. And so they're saying by this that even though this vowel here has become a composite schwa, they're going to retain the oo because of what it should have been. Now, some say that this is an error of the Leningrad Codex scribe. Others say it is just one of those odd things that happen to the Masoretic pointings, where for some reason there is a traditional pronunciation or something going on that they maintained, and there's an apparent disagreement between the vowels and the rules. But this is the way the text is. And the interesting thing is, it's not just the Leningrad Codex that has this pointing. All right? But it is a violation of the normal rule. You expect to have the equivalent short vowel, a pathic under it. But here it doesn't affect your translation, because regardless of how it's pointed, you know this is an and. Okay? All right? Jeff?
And the gold of the land, that is good?
No, because that is not referring to gold. Ha-he is feminine, gold is masculine. So that has to go with land. All right? Other questions? Greg?
Just not sure how to deal with that. That land has gold and is good.
That land has gold and is good? No, because the have is in construct, so it has to be gold of.
How would we count that up?
Well, the number of words you have here in the English translation is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words. 1 point off for and, 1 point off for the, 1 point off for gold, 1 point off for of, that 1 point off, land 1 point off, and was or is 1 point off, and good 1 point off. Okay, and the gold of that land was good. Now if you have but instead of and, anyone have but instead of and? That's acceptable here, but won't need to explain it at this point. We haven't got that far yet. Yes?
What if we added an extra, like, and the gold of that land, she is good?
The gold of that land, she is good? Then she, being a personal pronoun, would not have an article. That has to be, the he has to be adjectival because it's a personal pronoun with an article, so it has to be an adjective. It has to be the demonstrative pronoun that. There's no other option.
Is that a standard rule?
That is absolute rule. I've said it twice today. I'll say it probably 5 more times today, and I'll say it in the future as well. The personal pronouns in the third person, when they have the article, are always demonstrative pronouns. Okay? Third person personal pronouns, when they have the article, are no longer personal pronouns. They are demonstrative. In fact, the remote demonstrative pronouns. Yes, Eric?
Before today, how would we have known that?
You had it in your lessons on the articles and the personal pronouns, etc. Look at 12, where you have your lesson here, and actually there's one even before that. We had it earlier than that. We had it way back on number 11, or 10, excuse me. Chapter 10. Chapter 10, as you're going through that, page 73, 3A, demonstrative pronouns / adjectives. The following chart is of the demonstrative pronouns. You have who, he, hame, hema, hain, hena as those. And we're told that demonstrative pronouns may function either as pronouns or as adjectives. They relate to the noun the same way as the attributive adjectives and the predicate adjectives do, which means they must agree with number, gender, and definiteness. When used as adjectives, the demonstrative pronouns function the same way as the attributive adjectives. So they describe. They take the article if the noun has the article. They follow the noun they qualify. They agree with the noun in gender and number. And then you had a series of examples given there, all of those with an article on those demonstrative pronouns so you could see what they look like. When used as pronouns, 2C in the middle of the page, 74, the demonstrative pronouns function the same way as the predicate adjectives. They do not take the article. Okay?
Where would we know that the personal pronouns do not take the article, though? I mean, we
Right
know that
here.
in English.
That's what it says right here. 2C.
As personal
When
pronouns?
used as pronouns, the demonstrative pronouns function the same way as the predicate adjectives. They do not take the article. Whether they're demonstrative pronouns or whether they're personal pronouns, they do not take the article. You'll see the chart of the personal pronouns. None of them has an article, and they never do take the article. Interesting. We don't say it explicitly there, but they never do. They never take the article. You never learn them anyway. You never have an article put on them in any example anywhere in the book.
Okay.
So they never have an article. All right? Okay. All right, let's go back then to number 5. Let's take that one, Scott Jackson.
El Shaddai.
Okay.
I am El Shaddai.
Okay, I am El Shaddai, or you could have I am God Almighty. Okay. Pardon? God the Almighty? I have no problem with that. I have no problem with the Almighty God. Pardon? El is not Lord. Lord is Adon, Adonai, or if you use all caps, it's Yahweh, but El is God. Tom?
Do you need, could it just be I, El Shaddai?
I'll accept that today. You should have a verb in there, but that's fine. Okay, so if you have I, El Shaddai, or I, Almighty God, or I, the Almighty God, or I, God Almighty, without the am, no problem. Okay? So on this one, there's only 4 words, 4 points possible. And if you don't have am, that's only 3 points possible, but don't take off any points if you have any of those. You're only subtracting points, not adding up points. Okay? All right, number 6, Kempis.
Ta.
Right, notice that. Everyone watch. He pronounced them both the same, which is exactly right. Ata, ata. But notice they're spelled differently. They're 2 different words. Okay, go ahead.
Baruch. Yahweh.
Okay, good. And what's the translation?
You are now the blessed of the Lord.
Okay, you are now the blessed of Yahweh, or the Lord with all capital letters. Make certain it's all capital letters. It is not acceptable to translate Yahweh this way. All right? It has to be this way, or it has to be this way, or it has to be this way. But it cannot be this way when you have Yahweh. All right? And there's two places you could put the R. You can put it, you now are the blessed of Yahweh, or you are now the blessed of Yahweh. Now you are is fine. Eric?
Can you not have the R? You just said you now, comma, the blessed of the Lord.
If that makes sense to you in English, it doesn't to me, but I'll accept it.
Word, the beginning of the sentence.
I'll accept it. Notice this is the end of a sentence because you have the double dot at the end there, sof pasuk. As I said, try to make sense of these in English. I won't take points off for that, but I'm going to eventually, in a few weeks, I hope to have you all to where you're trying to make sense of these things, because we're not trying to provide you with partial sentences. We're trying to provide you with examples that are full sentences. Kelly?
Can the construct there also be expressed by saying by? You are now blessed by Yahweh?
Yes.
Does that just work?
Yes. Okay. John?
Can you remind me how I should know that Yahweh would not be the subject?
What would be the subject of? And what would you do with the first atah? See, that's where you have to answer those questions. Okay, Greg?
Is there a definite article there on blessed?
There's no definite article on blessed, but remember, when you have a construct relationship with a proper noun, the proper noun is definite, therefore the construct noun becomes definite. The blessed of Yahweh. The blessed. The has to be there, because it's in construct with a proper noun, which is definite. Okay? Scott?
So are we marking off for Lord, or are we getting a warning today?
We'll make it a warning today. All right? I'm feeling very gracious. All right? So we'll make it a warning. So circle it, but don't take a point off. All right? Okay. Way to go, Scott. See, I'm a dispensationalist, and this is the dispensation of grace, right? Okay, Jan.
Now the Lord bless you.
No, it can't be the Lord blessed you, because the you is placed first. It's the subject. You are, not the Lord blessed you. It'd be totally different. This is something that when we get into pronominal suffixes, pronouns that are objects are always suffixes. They're never by themselves independent. Okay? All right. Anyone else on number 6? Number 7. Eric, want to read this for us, please?
A-I-N, A-T-E-M, or A-T-E-M, Maha.
Atem.
Excuse me?
Atem.
Atem.
Mhm.
Haran. Anahinu. Anahinu.
Anachnu. Anachnu. Okay? And how'd you translate it?
Where are you from? We are from Haran.
Okay. Absolutely correct. Where are you from? We are from Haran. Or if you translate literally, from where are you? From Haran we are. Okay?
Haran is one that,
Haran
yeah.
didn't communicate? Okay, you've got to start pronouncing these words, guys, because they're often very familiar. And when you look down, you see number 7 is found in Deuteronomy 20. Excuse me, is that the one? Number 7? No, it's number 4. Number 4, Genesis 29:4. You know, Haran, it's one of those words, places.
Is that what we take off for?
What did you have for it?
I had a big question mark.
Just a question mark? Well, if you didn't even try to translate it, what can I do?
I tried everything.
When you can't find something, try transliterating it and making it a proper name. It's a common rule of thumb. You'll run across this many times in Scripture. When you can't find something, try transliterating it and making it a proper name, and you'll find that 75% of the time, that is the issue. Okay? All right. Anyone else on this one? On number 7? All right. Number 8. Number 8, Kyle.
Anai.
Anoki.
Oh my goodness. Anoki. Who? Me'at.
Me-at.
Me'at.
Okay? Anoki hu me-at. And how does it translate?
Truly I am he. Who are you?
Truly I am he, who are you? There's no truly there. I can see why someone might take that, though, because of the repetition of anoki. Circle it, don't count points off. All right, what other options do you have? There's several ways to translate this. What are some of the other options? Jeff?
I am that I am. Who are you?
I will count that. I will count that.
He or I even
Say that again.
I and he, or I even
I can count. I am he, I will count. Although if it was I am he, you have to account for why there's 2 anokis, and the I would have to be underlined, capitalized, huge, bold, or something to show the emphasis. That's why I is even better. Okay? Now, did they put both? Did Roger put both options?
No, one was mine, one was mine.
One was, oh, you're trying to combine the two. Okay. Well, I'm going to accept both of you on that one. All right? Anyone else? Tom?
I am he, who are you?
That's fine. That's fine. Greg?
I even I am he who comforts you. That's me.
Where's comfort you come from? That looks like someone checked Isaiah 51:12 to find out what was in the sentence from an English translation, because it's not here in the example. So put 1 point off for, in fact, 2 points off for no, it's just 1. Take 1 off for comforted. Okay? Yes, Eric.
Speaking of, James and I just looked at Isaiah. We were wondering where the comforts did come from.
Where the comfort comes from?
Yeah, in the translation.
Comes from the Lord.
It's not here. You shouldn't have comfort here.
No, we don't. But if we just looked in the NASB and it has the word comforts, and
Right.
I'm wondering where that comes from.
Well, see, if you see there's 3 dots there in your example.
What do you mean?
There's 3 dots in your in the number 8 there in your text.
We don't have 3 dots.
You don't have 3 dots? 3 dots aren't there. We took them out. We wouldn't want to take them out. You're right. Oh, I see what's happened. You have an accent there between the who and the me. What happened is when we printed that, the computer converted the ellipsis to that accent that's between the words. It shouldn't be there. It should be, those 3 should be ... And I need to mark that so that we get that reverted back, because it should be an ellipsis.
Would the same be true in number 7?
In number 7, the same thing should be true, yes. Absolutely. It should be, after atem should be 3 dots.
Oh, so you just omitted words we didn't know.
We omitted words that you didn't know, right. We picked and chose in the verse to choose the words that you did know. All right? Okay, that wouldn't have come out if you hadn't asked the question. And that's just one of those computer things, and it probably is that when we printed it off, we had the computer that printed it set on curly quotes and all those other automatic options, and those have to be turned off before we print it so it doesn't convert that automatic ellipsis back to something else. Yes,
So when
Kelly.
it's doubled like that, can it also be an emphasis? Like
Yes,
I myself?
it is emphasis.
So I myself am he.
I myself am he, who are you is absolutely correct. Okay? Anyone else? Any other options you want to check on? Scott?
I am that I am, he is.
I am that I am is fine. The last part, he is, doesn't make any sense. You're doubly translating the who. You're translating it twice.
So the is wrong, just he would have been
Give it again.
I am that I am.
Okay, but see, that is who. I am that I am. So you've already translated who once as that. You can't translate a second time as he. So you have to count one of those off. Okay? All right, anyone else? All right, let's go on then to number 9. Number 9, I'll read it here. Hema hagiborim esher me olam anshe Hashem. All right? Those or they, you can do it either way, those are or they are the mighty men who from ancient time or who from of old or from eternity are or were men of the name, which could also be an idiom meaning famous men, men of reputation. Okay, questions on your different translations that you have? Yes, Scott.
On that last phrase, the men of the name, if there's no verb there, it's just comma, the men of the name instead of are the men of the name.
No problem. That's fine. Okay, any other questions on translations that you have there for this one? Do I take from that most of you then got it pretty close? All right, great, fantastic. See, that's progress. Okay, number 10. Esher lo me are hagoyim ha'ele hena. And asher here is going to be the idea of who, and the subject is at the very end. Hena, those are they who are not from these city or from the cities of these nations, from the cities of these nations. They are those who are not from the cities of these nations. Okay, the biggest problem there is the word order and the fact that the subject is hena at the very, very end.
Did you say the cities?
It's the cities, yes. Notice it's are is construct, and it's connected with hagoyim.
Would you accept which are not from the cities of the nations, comma, those?
Which are not from the cities of the nation, comma, those. I will accept that. I will accept that.
Real close-
Scott.
Real close to that, which are not from the cities of these nations there.
There. T-H-E-I-R?
R-E.
T-H-E-R-E. But see, hena is not sham. So that last one is wrong. The 1 point is wrong. Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Yes, my translation is they are those who, or the ones who, are not from the cities of these nations. Notice that these goes with nations because it's attached to it by makef to show the close relationship. These does not go with are, it's not these cities of the nations, it's these nations. Yes, Franz?
Who are not of the cities of these nations?
That's fine so far. What about the hena on the end? Not translated, 1 point off. 1 point off. George?
Sir, can I ask you back on number 8?
Sure.
Is it okay if I put he is, I am?
Sure. Absolutely. Good. Okay. All right. Anything else on number 10? Okay. Now let's quickly go through these and then we'll take a break and then we want to review. This review I've allowed a lot of time on because I think this is a very important part of our total review for the quiz, or the exam, actually, exam. Because personal pronouns are very significant in Hebrew, number 1. And this is the personal pronouns here we're dealing with. Number 2, many of the issues we're dealing with. Construct state, the definiteness of a construct chain based upon the article being on that last noun or the last noun being a proper noun. Those are very important parts that you can expect on the exam. That's something that is very important, very significant. We dare not forget it. So let's very quickly take B, translate the following sentences in Hebrew. The man who dwelt in the great city is good. We already did that, remember, on Tuesday. So I'm going to skip over that. And remember there, as long as you've got it down, there's points there. I hope you got it correctly. But just in case someone failed to do that and didn't write it down or didn't transfer it over, they're at the ones at the loss because this is still counted. All right? And we have the man who dwelt in that city, so Asher. And then it was Yashav. All right, so that's what should be there for the first one. The man who dwelt in the great city is good. Tov, Ha'ish, Asher, Yashav, Ba'ir, great city. Not that city, in the great city. And that should be Ha-Ge-Do-La. Okay? Yes, question, James.
The order is incorrect. It is went off too long.
Since we did it in class, there should be no excuse. Should be everything would be wrong that it is wrong because we went over this one very specifically in class on Tuesday, giving you all the answer, writing it out on the board, walking through it word by word, point by point. Yes. If you have shakan instead of yashav, that's fine because remember we said that was acceptable. And also remember we said ha'ish could be ha'adam. So there were two varieties here that we said you could have variations. You can have shakan and you can have ha'adam. Okay? Did anyone put ha'enosh? Because I think someone had asked the question, could it be enosh? But ha'enosh would be also acceptable. Ha'enosh. All right, let's go on then to the second one. The prophet saw all which God did to the great nation. The prophet saw all which God did to the great nation. All right, so remember the word order. You begin with the verb. So he saw is ra'ah. The prophet is hen, navi. Remember the dagish in the noon. If you don't have a dagish in the noon, then that word is wrong, so it's one off. On that first one, by the way, Tov Ha'ish Asher Yashav or Shakan Ba'ir Hagedolah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible points. If you have any part of the word wrong, if the pointing on the article is wrong here, the whole word's wrong. If there's a lack of the ah suffix here, that whole word's wrong. If there's a lack of the dagish in the gimel, that whole word is wrong. So there's only 6 points, there's 6 words, there's 6 points. And if any part of the word is wrong, the whole word is wrong. Okay? And the same on this one, Ra'ah han navi, the prophet saw all which. So you have, there's 2 things you could have done here. You could have, it's supposed to be kal, but there's a problem here in that when we're looking at this, all which is literally all of which, but you may not have put that. If you put kol here, just leave it that way, put a circle around it, correct it this way, no points off. Okay, it would be kal asher, all which is literally all of which God did, asa is he did, God is Elohim, so the subject of that would be Elohim. Make certain that all the vowels are correct. That holum has to be there. It's Elohim. Elohim. God did to the great nation. Lagoi. Notice the dagish in the gimel. Lagoi ha-gadol. All right? So you should have Ra'ah, Han-Navi, Kol or kol, I'll accept here. Kol asher asa Elohim lagoi hagadol. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 possible points. If any part of the word is wrong, the whole word is wrong. But you can't take off more than 8 points. Yes?
Does that include word order?
Tell me what difference there is in word order so I can judge.
Well, there's just a couple ones where first order,
First.
Okay. What is first in the sentence? Hanavi. Okay. I will allow that today. Everyone paying attention to that? If you reverse the 2 here and have Hanavi Ra'ah, I will count it right today. But I will not in the future. Word order in Hebrew is what? Verb, subject, object. Verb, subject, object. Even though the reverse can occur, it's always for a different reason, but you need to get in the practice of when you translate into Hebrew, always putting the verb first and the subject second, not vice versa. But if you have it reversed today, no problem. Nothing off, but make certain you mark it so you remember. Scott.
Yahweh instead of Elohim.
No, because Yahweh is not God. Yahweh is Yahweh. Don't confuse the names of God. I don't call you James. You're Scott. Okay? My wife does not call me William unless she's mad at me. She calls me Bill. All right? She keeps the name straight. William has a special meaning as opposed to Bill. It was always that way with my mother also. When I walked in the house, my wife or my mother has ever referred to me as William, I know I'm in trouble. All right? So don't confuse the names of God. God is Elohim. One option, El. You could use El for God, because we've had that just in the example even today where we had El Shaddai. So El is acceptable and so is Elohim, but Yahweh is not. Adonai is not. Yes, George.
You have El Hagoi instead of
Lagoi, El Hagoi, yes. El Hagoi is acceptable. El Hagoi. Make certain the dogish is in the gimel. Make certain the right vowels under the hay. It's a pathek. All right. The king took all of the things in this great city. So if it's the king took, we're going to begin with the verb, right? Cook is la kach. The king is the subject. The king. So we know it's going to have an article. And as we put these down, we know it's melech. We know there's an accent up here. We know there's a dogish in here because it's not a guttural. And that is the spelling. If any part of that is missing other than the accent. If the accent is missing, just add it in. Don't take points off. All right? Lakach Hamelech. The king took all of the things. All of is call. The things ha, div, va, reem. All of the things in this great city. Beth is in. This great city would have to be city, the great, the this. So Ba'ir for the city. The great would be ha, ge, do, la, because city is feminine. And therefore, this great city would have to be then ha, zot. Because zot is the feminine singular demonstrative pronoun, here used as an adjective with the article to agree with the other adjective and with the noun it modifies. So lakach, hamelech, kol, hadivarim, ba'ir, hagedolah, hazot. Okay, David.
Would you have to have the article in the entire prepositional phrase, or could you make the prepositional phrase to not have the article?
No, because the translation says here, your English says, the king took all the things in this great city. And this makes it definite. I can see what you're thinking, there, how things would work in your mind. You say, okay, it doesn't say the this, but this makes it definite. All right? If you are missing articles here, here, and here because of your reasoning that way, take only 1 point off, don't take off 3. Okay? And just remember that when you have this, that, those, that automatically makes it a definite. Okay?
Even if it's not supplied in just a normal city.
Yes. Okay? Okay, any other questions on this one? Yes, Kelly?
Also, with the all of, with the call,
Yes.
is the makif necessary, or is that just?
No, it's not necessary. If the makif is not there, you do not need to have it.
Would you rather us get in the habit of adding it, or
No.
not having it? Or it doesn't
I
matter?
would rather see you be inconsistent with the makif than to be consistent one way or the other. You can do that. Okay, good. Yes, Tom?
Would that change then to coal?
No, because it's in construct. The only reason we allowed coal on the other is you could have looked at it as not being in construct, because it just said all that, all which, and it didn't say all of which. And we had not discussed that when all and a share come together, it is in a construct relationship. We did not discuss that, so I allowed that in that case. But no, this without the makif, this could still be this way. The vowel still indicates it's in construct. It doesn't need an accent. It doesn't need a makif. The vowel change is sufficient to show it's in construct. Okay? Anyone else? Any other question on this one? All right. And as we go to the next example, the servant heard all the words which Abraham spoke to the kings of the land. So what are we going to put first? Verb. Heard. Okay? Sha-ma. Okay, he heard. Who heard? The servant. Servant is ha-eved. Make certain it's a daleth, not a resh. There should be an accent there. Put an accent on it if it isn't, but don't count it off. Don't count any points off if the accent is missing. All right? The servant heard all the words. And that will be, again, it'll be call, because literally it'd be all of the words. Ha, divarim. Excuse me, we're going to have all the words, no, that's still right. All the words which, Asher, Abraham, which is Avraham, which Abraham spoke. Now here, you've got two different possibilities. When you go into a relative clause, word order does not become identical to normal word order. You can end up with any word order. You can have Abraham first and then the verb, or you can have the verb and then Abraham. And here there are two different words you could have used. You could have used diber, or you could have used amer. And you could put it before or after Abraham. You can put it before or after Abraham because you're inside the Asher clause. Okay? The last part of it, to the kings of the land. To would be normally a lamed. I'll accept L as well. You can use either L or the lamed. To the kings of the land. Kings of is in construct, so it cannot take an article. So therefore, you have no article showing under the lamed because it's in construct. Le mal K. Okay. Le mal K. And you have of the land is haaretz then. Again, the accent above aretz. Make certain that this is a commas under the aleph. So Shama ha-eved kol ha-divarim asher diber Avraham, or asher Avraham diber, or asher amer Avraham, or asher Avraham amer, el or la, not both, one or the other. L would not be attached. L would not be attached. Lamed is attached. The lamed would have a schwa under it because the construct noun cannot have the article written on it. The article is written only on the word following, and so this will not show an article here. It takes its article from this word, and then haaretz. Question, Scott?
Can the first word be rafa?
Rapha, that's the word for heel, not here. So it's wrong. Okay? Eric?
Melech is a segolite noun, right?
Melech is a segolate noun.
And when I was trying to figure out how to put it in construct form, I just kind of went by page 79, 3a. You give the example of Evan, which is a stone or weight.
Right.
And in construct form, it doesn't even change. So for Melech, I didn't really change it in construct form. Is that valid?
No. And let me, I believe here, if I remember right, if you look on page 37 of your workbook, exercise 11, the construct state, you have a table there that was given to you, a supplementary table of construct forms that includes Melech and gives you the plural form. Pardon?
You had this list.
I had the list when you did it. You're right, I did. You're right, I did. Regardless of the form there, don't count it wrong then. All right? Like I told you, we're in the dispensation of grace, and I'm a dispensationalist, and what John said is absolutely correct. You didn't have it available to look at. Okay? Unless you happen to be one of those that were photocopying them. But it is there. Okay, yes?
On pad of green,
Yes.
the book shows it as comments under the page. At least on page 82.
This way? That's fine. Okay? All right? Actually, it's my error. Okay? All right? It's hadivarim, not adivarim. Okay? Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay. Let's go to that very last one then. We have God spoke to the man whom he created. All right? So God spoke. We begin with what? The verb? Correct? Okay. If we use amer, or if you use diber, make certain that you spell these correctly. You can use either or. God spoke, so the subject is Elohim. Make certain all the vowel pointings are there and correct. By the way, watch what you do with the holum. Don't make the holum take up a space between these two and split these consonants up with an inordinate amount of space. Don't count it wrong if someone has it that way, but this should not affect the spacing of your consonants. Write your consonants first, and then go back through and put in your vowel pointings, because they should not affect the spacing of your consonants. Okay, God spoke to the man. You can use either El, or you can use the lamed. Since it's to the man, that will be La Adam. Yeah, La Adam with that, because it's the same as the article. Or you would have La Ish. So you can El Ha Adam, remember, it'd be El Ha Adam. If the metheg is not there, don't count it wrong, just put it in. Make certain that it's understood that it belongs there. God spoke to the man whom he created. Whom is asher. He created is bara. So, you can have amer or diber. Elohim, you could also have here el. Unto the man could be el ha-adam or el ha-ish. Or la adam or la ish esher bara. So there's several different options. Yes?
Could you have whom at the end of, after bara?
This way? That would only be used if it was to be extremely emphatic. and say whom he alone created. But that's never needed because, don't count it wrong if you have it. Just put an X through it. Don't take any points off. Bara can only take God as the subject. Bara is only a divine activity. Therefore, you never need to have this emphasis this way. Okay? Scott?
Regarding the method with the L and
Right.
call.
Oh, method, there's no L, none here. It's just with the ha
I'm sorry.
and with the la.
The makef.
Oh, the makef.
Is that standard and something we should?
If you have the makef there,
Right. Is that
that's fine.
have?
No,
Okay, so it's optional.
it's extremely optional.
Same with the cow.
With the which?
I'm not on this example, but the other.
But call,
Yeah, but
call, yes, correct. Okay, it's optional. Yes, Jan.
Is yasa is acceptable?
Asa. Asa, I will accept, but asa is not the word for create. It's the word for make. I'll accept it. Tom.
Clarification, bara is only used in the Old Testament in reference to God?
Bara has only God as a subject in the Old Testament. Okay? Yes, Franz, go ahead.
Can you turn the word order around ashar and bara? Can you do bara, ashar?
No, you cannot do a share after. A share always goes first. Okay? Kelly.
For whom is another option, eight me?
Say that again?
Eight me with the makef, so the
No, because that's an interrogative. Me is interrogative.
and then also is it I put who in there, whom, so the asher, who, bara.
Okay, well, that's what we we're just talking about here.
Oh, my bad.
Put an X through it. Don't count a point off.
So it's not.
It should not be there.
Okay, because it's understood. Okay.
Right. Okay? Scott.
If you put, at the end, if you put Elohim instead of he,
It's not there in the,
I looked at the fact that it had he, and I didn't know if you could translate he with
No.
he instead of right.
don't try to second guess. Translate exactly what's there in the English. Okay?
It's not the equivalent, but he.
No. Put an X through it, don't count off, but don't try to add antecedents for pronouns for translation exercises. Okay? All right? Keep it as literal as possible. Just put an X through it this time. Okay, anyone else? Other questions? Did you get your question resolved back there at the table there that you were discussing? Good, great, good. I want to make certain it wasn't neglected, that we got to it and made certain of it. Okay, Chad?
May I ask one question about the crossword puzzle?
Yes, you may.
29 across, toward the city. I couldn't figure out any way to get that to fit in those 5 spaces.
Okay, that's a trick question. It's a trick question. Number 29 across on the crossword puzzle.
I just made city plural.
Ah. Here's what it should be, and I'll explain. In Hebrew, we have a suffix that occurs on the end of nouns that's a comets hey that means in or it means to. It's a locative or directive hey suffix. And so that's a trick. You would not know that at the time, so either you would have to leave that blank or you'd tried all kinds of other things. We're not grading the crossword puzzle. That's for your entertainment. It would be this way. Yes. Jan?
Page 88 is an example. Where do you see?
Page 88.
We did have an example of it.
Yes, you do have an example. In fact, you're told there, the comets hey ending never takes the accent. When the old accusative ending is added, the accent remains where it was before the termination was added. Mitzrayim, Egypt, Mitzrayimah, to or toward Egypt. Ha'ir, the city, ha'ira, to or toward the city. So you even have the same word. Okay, great. Thanks, John. That made me feel even better. I thought maybe it was just a trick question. We sometimes throw those in on the crossword puzzles. All right? Okay, now, let's use our time to quickly review a few things in preparation for your exam. Number one, remember, it's chapters 5 through 12 of the textbook. Chapters 5 through 12 of the textbook. The Hebrew accents, remember, we have disjunctive accents. You should be able to identify a few of these. For example, the athnak. You should be able to identify the athnak. Circle it in an example and name it. Circle it in an example and name it, the athnak. I'm not going to ask for the sigolta. I will ask for the zakef katon. So athnak and zakef katon are two of the accents you need to be able to recognize, to be able to circle on an example and name. Name. Athnak, zakef katon. Zakef katon looks like a schwa at the top of the word, the two dots above a word. Rabia is the diamond. You should know that one as well. So athnak, zakef katon, and rabia. Rabia is the diamond above a word. And you can review these in your chapter on accents in chapter 5. Zakef gadol will not be on the exam. The saluk will be on the exam. The saluk is that vertical line underneath the last accented syllable in a verse. And it always comes together with the sof pasuk, which is the double diamond at the end of the word. Okay? So on that one you would have both there. The conjunctive accent, the only conjunctive accent you need to remember is munach. The thing looks like a backward L. It is the strongest conjunctive accent. These are all given for you in detail in chapter 5 of your textbook. Yes?
What is the double diamond being called again?
Sof pasuk. Sof pasuk. Sof means end. Pasuk means verse. Sof pasuk means end of verse. Okay? That's all you need to know about the accents. All right? So one more time real quickly. You have to know the athnak, zakef katon, rabia, and the saluk. So you have 4 disjunctive accents. Disjunctive, remember that name also. Disjunctive accents. They're the ones that divide the logical divisions of the verse. And 1 conjunctive, the munach. 1 conjunctive, the strongest conjunctive that joins, it doesn't divide. All right? Be able to recognize them on a word, circle that accent, and give it a name. And there may be different ways that appears. I may say, circle the athnak in this sentence and put a box around the rabia, you see? Or I may say, tell me what is the circled accent, or what is the accent on this word. So there's a number of possible ways I can mix that up and do it. I could even do it by matching. I could give you a list of the accents and a list of words with the accents and have you match the correct ones. You can expect any possible variety of the way I would ask the question. But these basic accents, those 4 disjunctives and the 1 conjunctive, will be on that exam. On the article, make certain that you are able to attach articles to nouns that are provided for you, just like you did in the exercises. So go back over all the rules of the article. Remember this very basic rule here, that the normal article attached to a noun that does not begin with a guttural is going to be a hey with a pathic and a doubling dogish in the first letter. All the other aberrations, all the other options have to do with gutturals. All right? All the other options have to do with gutturals. If you have a non-guttural, this is the only way. All the other ways have to do with gutturals. So when you get down to these others, you find out that if you have a weak guttural, it's a hey with a comments. And rule number 3, if you have a strong guttural, it'll be a pathic, and the guttural is doubled by implication. And strong gutturals are the cheth and the hey. That's where we had the question earlier about ha-he. All right? And then we have the rule that if it's attached to an unaccented ha or ah or cha, the hey, aleph, or cheth with the comets, then it's a sigol. He afar, he av cave, he chazak, because it's not, that next letter, guttural with the comets, is not accented. It's unaccented. And we also had that if it's accented, it's a comets. And that some of these undergo changes. You have these special rules, these 5 words like eretz that changes to aretz, har that changes to har, am that changes to am. So these are special cases where they've obtained that accented comets because they make that special change when they take the article. And so keep those in mind. We have the accented hey with comets or ayin with comets. Then the interrogative hey. Remember that the normal form is with a hatif pathak. And remember that the interrogative hey is always on the first word of a question. Okay? This would be an excellent question to ask, either as true or false, or just to have you complete, or just have some other means of asking it. The hey, the interrogative hey, is always on the first word of a sentence. And notice here we had that in the instructions. The first word of a question. All right? And we have it sometimes attached as a pathak before a guttural that has a schwa or a pathak. And we had that question asked today, and it was ruled out because it was a strong guttural and not a schwa or another form of guttural. And sometimes it is a sigol with guttural and comets. Guttural and comets. Interrogative pronoun ma. Remember we had it. Remember it is normally ma and a dogish in the first letter of the word following it. And it's normally attached by means of a makef. Normally attached by a makef. So ma melek has a dogish in the meme on melek. Ma katav has a dogish. Ma nahar has a dogish. Ma yom has a dogish in the yod. So don't forget that dogish. It's very important. And rule number 2, it has a comets. When you have gutturals, aleph and hey, sometimes resh. And then rule number 3 was a sigol, especially to gutturals with the comets. And notice that there's also the option, the makef is an option, is going to be found most of the time, but there will be cases when the makef will not be there. Let's go to the next one then in the review here. Prepositions. Remember the rule on prepositions, they're normally attached, the inseparable prepositions, which are 3 in number, the beit, the lamed, and the kaf, are attached with a schwa to the word. Levoker. And remember, when a bagad kafath letter does not open a syllable, it does not take the dogish. When a bagad kafath letter does not open a syllable, it does not take the dogish. It does not open the syllable here because the la opens the syllable. Remember, the la cannot be a syllable by itself, so it is part of this 2-syllable word. Levo and ker are the syllables. The schwa cannot form a syllable by itself. Therefore, the beit is not opening the syllable. The lamed opens the syllable. So the bagad kafath letter loses the dogish when you add the lamed, beit, or kaf to it when it has a schwa. Okay? Le adam be nahar be afar kaish kalot lot by name, remember. Rule number 2, words beginning with simple schwa take inseparable prepositions with a hirik, because you cannot have 2 schwas together at the beginning of a word. So the first schwa that would normally be there then changes to a hirik to avoid having two schwas at the beginning of a word. And there's exceptions of this where the schwa that was there originally disappears. Schwas under yods especially disappear, like in Yehoshua becomes Lihoshua. The schwa that was there disappears because the yod becomes part of the hirik. It's an exception, a change, and irregularity. If you have a compound schwa, then you take the corresponding short vowel, goes underneath the preposition. An exception, Elohim. The hatif sigol disappears, and the schwa, or the sigol that would have been, under the lamed, is heightened to its seri. Le'Elohim. That change occurs only when you add one of the three inseparable prepositions, lamed, beith, or kaf. The inseparable preposition usurps the position and point of the article. So if it's ham-melech, the preposition is lam-melech. If it's ha-adam, the preposition is ka-adam. If it is he-afar, the preposition is be-afar. All you do is take the hey away and put your inseparable preposition in place of the hey. So figure out what the article is first, and then just substitute the preposition for the hey of the article, leaving everything else intact. Inseparable prepositions immediately before the accented syllable of a word in pause. In pause means a word that's like at the athnak or the saluk. Lamayim and shevet. Shevet becomes la shevet. The comets instead of a schwa. Min is different. Before non-gutturals, the noon is assimilated. It becomes mi-melech. Not min-melech, but mi-melech. Min-nahar. Notice the noon is assimilated. The dogish compensates. Miyom, from day. Before gutturals, the noon is assimilated. The hirik heightened to a tseri because the gutturals refuse. They reject doubling. So it's me-adam. Since you can't double the aleph, the hirik is heightened to a tseri. Me-regel. Me-hadar. And before the article, the noon is either assimilated and hirik heightened to tseri for rejection of compensatory forte. So me-haaretz. Notice this is different than beith, lamed, and kaf. The beith, lamed, and kaf are inseparable. They always are attached. Min can be separated. But when it's attached even, the article remains. With min, the article remains, not with the other three. So it's me haaretz because the hey rejects doubling. Me hayom because the hey rejects doubling. Or it'll be joined by a makef. Min hayom. Okay? Instead of me hayom, it can be min hayom. Two alternatives there. On Words of the Wise, remember, Hakam, Hekama, notice what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? The mem sofit, when you put an ending, you change that mem. It's no longer a final mem. It becomes Hekama, the mem, the regular mem, not a final mem. When you add a suffix, you don't retain the final form because that final form is no longer the final letter. The final form is only for final letters. All right? The king and the nation are great is Hamelech Wehagoi Gadol. The predicate adjective is still without the article, and it can go with both. Gadol has to be how? Gedolim. Because if it goes with both, it has to agree. You have two of them. It's a compound subject. So, and then it goes normally before. So, Gedolim, Hamelech, Wehagoi. If you have two nouns having the same adjective being attributed to them, two nouns means it's plural. The man and the woman are. You don't say the man and the woman is. All right? And in Hebrew, that plurality has to be transferred to the pronoun as well. It has to be transferred to the pronoun as well. I'm not the pronoun, excuse me, the adjective. has to be transferred to the adjective as well. If you want to say the king and the nation are great, the great has to be in plural, the same as the English verb is in the plural.
Nation and king would be in plural.
Nation and king are both singular, individual, but together they are plurality because they're two entities. Two is plural. Okay, we say the king and the nation are great. We don't say the king and the nation is great. And in Hebrew, that same grating thing that sounds, when we hear the king and the nation is great, we say, oh, that's wrong grammar. Well, in the Hebrew, it's not just the verb they look at the adjective too.
King of the nations is our
Nation. Are great. Great has to be the same as the verb are. It has to be plural. Okay? They must agree in gender and number. All right? And sus, susat, what's wrong with it? The construct, feminine singular, should be susat. All right? Susat. From that great city is not Mehu Hagadol Ha'ir. There are two things wrong here. Number one, if that is modifying city as an adjective, it has to agree with the noun, indefiniteness, and it will follow, not precede. And Hagadol doesn't fit because ear is feminine. And had doesn't fit because it's before a guttural. It should be instead me ha'ir, hagedolah, feminine, ha-he goes at the end and agrees in definiteness, number, and gender. So there are three things wrong there. That is the one problem that you had the most today, and the most in the exercise I graded was in that kind of situation, in trying to get all of those elements correct. And you have to just emphasize agreement. Ear is feminine, the pronoun has to be a feminine. If ear is feminine, the adjective has to be feminine. And if the demonstrative is being used as a pronoun, that or this city, it will go after, at the end, after all the other adjectives. It's at the end, and it'll have to agree in definiteness, in gender, and in number.